Hello and welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute since I've been on here, but I am going to show you today how to make a full-sized ice cream cone out of balloons. And honestly, this is like the easiest thing that you might ever do with balloons. It's such an easy sculpture to make. It doesn't take very much time at all. And it obviously makes a really big wow statement. I'm actually using these for my daughter's 5th birthday party that's coming up in a couple days here. It's a whole ice cream theme. So I figure what better time to show you how to make this. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to talk first through all of the different materials that you're going to need for each part of this ice cream cone, and then we're just going to go ahead and dive in together and do it. So let's get going. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to need is a column stand so that your ice cream cone can actually stand up. This, if you are not familiar with what these are, this is going to be a lifesaver if you're doing balloons consistently and you're making lots of different columns. This is just an IKEA lamp stand. I can't remember exactly what this lamp is called off the top of my head, but I will link it below. I love these because the bottom is already weighted for you, and all of these sections can actually be modular. So you can make this taller or shorter depending on what you need for your specific design. So I have this column stand. Oh, and by the way, these are like 10 bucks. They're so inexpensive. So definitely stock up on them if you can. I have this one standing at about 4 feet tall. That's really all we're gonna need because that's about where the cone stops. So I have that one set up at 4 feet tall. You can go ahead and put that on the side. We will be using that in just a little bit. Now let's talk about what are the materials that you need for the cone. So for the cone specifically, you're gonna need 8 5-inch balloons. Now all of these balloons are gonna be the same color. I'm using today Sempertex White Sand, but anything in a traditional cone color is going to be fine. Just make sure that all of your balloons are that same color. So you can't be using, a mixture of different colors or else it's just not going to look right. So you've got 8 5-inch balloons that you're going to need. You need 28 11-inch balloons in the same color and then 16 260s in the same color. So this is what a 260 looks like if you're not familiar. These again are also a lifesaver when it comes to balloon design. We're going to be using these as the cone element there, and then we're also going to be using these to attach the ice cream to the top. So you'll need 16 of these specifically for the cone itself. For the ice cream itself, you're going to need 76 5-inch balloons in whatever color you're wanting your ice cream to be. Obviously we've got the Sempertex Matte Pastel Purple going on in the back right now, and the other cone that I'm making is going to be Sempertex Pastel Matte Pink. So again, make sure that all of your ice cream balloons are the same color. 76 of these 5-inch balloons, 1 36-inch balloon in the same color, and then just one more of the 260s. This 260 does not need to be the same color as the rest of your ice cream. You can use the same color that you have for the cone if you want to. Just make sure you have one extra here so that we can use that to attach the ice cream. Okay, so we've got all of our materials. That's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and dive into actually inflating these balloons. All right, so I'm gonna start with creating our cone structure. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start inflating all of my 5-inch and 11-inch balloons. Now we are keeping all of our balloons together in terms of size. So I'm going to be inflating all 8 of the 5-inch balloons into duplets and then all of the 11-inch balloons into duplets. I have my trusty Legenda here. You are going to need to do some sizing. So if you have a balloon sizer, let me show you what one of those looks like. Hang on. So this is an example of a balloon sizer. You can get this one off Amazon. I'll go ahead and link it below in case you're interested. If you don't have a sizer or you can't get one in time, that's okay. Just have a ruler or something else handy so that you can actually measure the sizes of your balloons because they do have to be the same. So I'm using today to measure my balloons an old Cricut mat. I don't know, it just works for me and it's easy for me to just kind of hold up the balloons in front of it to make sure that they're the right size. And obviously I have a machine that can size my balloons as well. So I know that I'm inflating them to the same size, but you are gonna have to release some air to get them the exact correct size. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our first 4 of our 5-inch balloons. So this first 4 are are all going to be inflated to about 4 inches. Now again, you want to make sure that when you're inflating them, all 4 of these balloons are going to be the same size. It's really important that each quad that we are inflating, all of the balloons are the same size so that you get a nice, very symmetrical look at the end result. So I'm going to inflate these ones. And I can kind of eyeball when my balloons are about 4 inches. So that's about 4 inches here. I'm gonna go ahead, I inflated those 2, I'm pinching the necks here, and I am just going to tie these together into a duplet. So the way that I do that is I pull the necks very tightly around each other, twist around one balloon once, twist around it twice, and then secure in a knot. And now you've got yourself your first duplet. So I'm gonna do that one more time. Again, making sure that these are the exact same size as my last duplet, twist them together, and now I've got these 2. And I'm actually going to twist these together to make a quad. So the way that you do that is you're going to put those together in a T or an X shape, and you're just going to twist once, twist twice. And now you've got something like this, a 3-dimensional triangle, if you will. So that's the very bottom of your cone finished. So we're going to go ahead and put that aside. And now we're going to increase the size that we're inflating our balloons. So that you understand the pattern, we've got enough balloons to do 4 inches, 5 inches, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that's the sizes that we're going to be inflating all of our quads. So this next one is going to be 5 inches for our 5-inch balloon. So this is going to be pretty much at capacity. So I've got these basically at capacity. You can see that they have a little bit of that egg shape, which normally I would say get rid of it, but it's okay in this case because you're not going to be able to tell that these are egg shaped at all. So I've got that one done. I'm going to do my next one. Twist together and tie, and now I've got my second quad here. And now we're actually done with our 5-inch balloons for the base. So now we're moving up to our 11-inch balloons, and the next 4 balloons that we're going to inflate are going to be, you guessed it, 6 inches. I'm going to take this off. All right. So I like to measure, make sure I'm right at the 6-inch mark, which is about right here. So this is the size that you're going to be going for. And again, just want to make sure that both of your balloons are the same size. So this is what 6 inches looks like. 6-inch inflation on an 11-inch balloon is going to potentially make them look a little squatty, but again, that's okay. We're not going to be able to tell that once everything is put into our cone. So I'm going to do one more duplet of that. Okay, twist together and then put those aside. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I get up to 12 inches. So this next set of 4 balloons is going to be 7 inches. And now this next set of 4 will be 8 inches. Thank the gods I found you. All right, now I'm doing a quad that's 9 inches. I've been hungry for affection, baby, best believe. Now this next quad is going to be 10 inches. You're there in my reflection, you're a part of me. And now 11 inches, and we're almost done. And then last but not least, We have our last 4 11-inch balloons. We're putting these up to 12 inches. I know that technically this is an 11-inch balloon. They'll make it to 12 inches, I promise. Okay, so now that we have all of our 5-inch and 11-inch balloons inflated for the cone, I'm gonna go ahead and inflate our 260s. So for the 260s, the first 8 that you're going to inflate, you wanna have about, I would say 1 inch to 1.5 inches left at the very tip. So don't fully inflate it. I'll show you what I mean. So you want to have about this much left of your balloon that's not inflated. And you're just going to tie that off. So you've got something like this, and I'm going to do that with 7 more of these 260s. Okay, so once you have your first 8 of your 260s inflated, you're gonna start tying them together in pairs, and you wanna tie them together using the neck. So the side that you actually use to inflate it. All you need to do is just twist those necks around each other and put them into a simple knot. So you've got something like this. So we're gonna make 4 of these total. And you can just put them aside, and we will use them as the lattice work once we get the rest of the balloons onto your base. Now, the reason that you don't want to tie them together using the tip of the balloon is because when we're twisting these balloons onto the ice cream cone, there needs to still be some space left in the balloon for the air inside of it to move around. If we were to inflate these all the way, or if we were to just tie off this end, there wouldn't be any space for the air to go inside of these, and the balloon would pop once we started twisting. So we just want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay, so now that you've got all of your duplets of 260s together, we are going to inflate the final 8. Make sure that, again, you leave 1 out, 1 that's extra for your ice cream to get put on. So the other 8 of your 260s, we're gonna inflate pretty much the same way. The only difference is I'd suggest leaving about 2 inches at the top of these balloons, because we just don't need as large of them as we do for these base ones. So something like that. Now these balloons will not be getting tied together into duplets like the other 260s. So you're gonna leave these alone just on the side. We won't use those until the very end when we're finished with our cone. Okay, I'm done inflating all of my balloons for the cone, so let's go ahead and get started on that before we do anything else with the ice cream. Okay, so as we start building our cone, you'll kind of get a feel for the pattern, but just like you would expect, because a cone is shaped like an upside down triangle, we're gonna start by putting on our smallest quad. A quad is this foursome of balloons onto the bottom. So the way that we're gonna do this is what's called a flat pack. If you are familiar with balloon industry lingo, a flat pack is when you are packing balloons onto a column stand or something like this and making them flat. So this is not flat. This is flat. So this is how we're going to be packing it onto the bottom of our column. And the way that we do this, we don't need any special materials to attach this to our stand. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of these balloons here, and I'm going to put the column stand in between those 2 balloons. I'm working with this one and this one. Once I've got that stand in between those 2 balloons, I'm just going to twist those 2 balloons around each other. Just once. You don't have to do anything crazy. And then once those are twisted, I'm going to give it a nice push so everything lays nice and flat there on the bottom. Now the next size up is our 5-inch balloons here, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to, again, put the column in between 2 of those balloons and then twist those balloons around each other and give it a nice push so everything lays flat. And what you'll notice is that naturally the balloons are going to start doing kind of a window effect. So you'll have these two, and then you'll see one, and then two, and then one. It'll naturally start doing that. You'll see that they just kind of start going together like puzzle pieces. So I'm just going to continue doing that with all the rest. I have so much dog hair on all of these. Our dog is shedding like crazy. This is disgusting. So please don't mind the dog hair. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing with all of our balloons, just going in the same size order that we did when we were inflating them. So I've got my 4-inch balloons, 5-inch balloons, and now these are my 6-inch balloons. And now 7. And you'll see that pretty quickly, without really even needing to do a whole lot of work, this is going to start looking more and more like an ice cream cone. So you should still have just a little bit of this column stand peeking out at the top. I've got probably about 3 inches worth of it. That's totally fine. It's pretty flat against the top of where these balloons are, which is exactly what we want, because this is going to be a great place for us to then put our giant 36-inch balloon. So we've got the base of our cone all done. Now we're gonna work on literally the hardest part of this entire thing, which is the lattice work, and it's not even that difficult. So I'm gonna show you how to do that next. Okay, so like I said, this next part, this is really the hardest part of this entire project, and it's really not that hard. So this is gonna be really fun. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our two 260s that are tied together. So we've got 4 of them total, and we're gonna basically tie them into the bottom of the cone. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking for a space in between these 2 very bottom balloons, and all I'm doing is finding the necks of these balloons. So now I've got a neck right here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wrap that neck around the middle of these 260s. 3, about 4 times, let go, and now that is attached here to the bottom. And I'm gonna do that all the way around the base in every single one of these gaps that we have. So again, reach my fingers in there, look for one of our necks, and then wrap those necks around 4 times, 3 or 4 times. Let go, and now that's nice and secure. And now you've got something weird and crazy like that. So now let's go ahead and talk through how to do this lattice work. Now, the easiest way that I've found is I'm gonna go, so see how we've got the 2 balloons that are already attached to each other? We're not gonna start with those. We're gonna start with one of those balloons and another balloon from one of the other duplets of 260s. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this up, and I'm gonna basically wrap it around that first 4-inch balloon that's right at the very bottom. Once I have that twisted, I'm gonna pinch them together and twist them around each other like this. So you have something like that, like a little triangle that's kind of going around that balloon. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go to the next 2, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. You want to twist them, I would say 2 or 3 times, just enough so that when you let go, they will stay twisted together. And this is what we're going to continue doing all the way around, all the way up our ice cream cone. The amount of dog hair on these balloons, I wish I could show you. It is so disgusting and disturbing. But anyway, I digress, we will continue. And then I've got my last one right here. So same thing. Okay, so now we've got all of these twisted together, and I'm gonna start doing the same thing as before. So now I'm gonna be making a triangle around the 5-inch balloons here. Again, using 2 balloons from opposite twists, I guess. So I'm gonna do the same thing, lock those around each other, pinch, and then twist those together. And continue all the way around the cone. So in order for us to keep going, I'm just gonna tie these other 260s directly on to the ones that we already have on here. So I'm just, pinching the tip of this a little bit. And then I'm gonna use the nozzle side of this 260 to tie it in. So now you've got something like that. Okay, so now once all of these are tied on, you're just gonna continue doing the same thing. What you wanna do though is you wanna try to link up these balloons at these points that you just tied these new ones into, so everything looks nice and cohesive. So something like that. So it looks like everything is all connected, it's all one piece. And then you go all the way up to the top, and then we'll be done. Okay, so now you should have something like this. So I've reached the lattice all the way up to the very top balloons here. Now from here, you have a couple of different options. You could cut these pieces that we're not using and then just tie them in a knot together on the top. Or what I typically do is I just literally push them down into the balloons. And it just makes a little bit more of a resting place for that big 36-inch balloon to rest on top of. So either way, whatever you feel most comfortable with is how you can do it. Because the other thing too is that any of these that are kind of sticking up, we're not going to see at the very end because we're going to be covering that with these little, you can't see this, but with those little 5-inch balloons of the same color for the ice cream. So either way, it doesn't really matter. The biggest thing that you're going to want to make sure of is if you are tucking in those extra pieces of your 260s, you still want to make sure that they are flat and even across the top here. So that way that 36-inch balloon has somewhere flat and even to rest on. That's the most important part. But otherwise, you're good to go. And we are finished with our cone. So let's go ahead and start inflating all of the balloons for the actual ice cream portion. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to inflate our 36-inch balloon, and you want this to basically be at capacity. So as soon as you start to see the neck of the nozzle kind of turning into a little bit of a triangle or cone shape, you want to stop inflating. Okay, so I've got something like this. I'm just going to tie this off. And then immediately with that one extra 260 that we have, I'm going to tie that onto this knot of the balloon that I just made. So the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hold on to the closed end of this 260, and with my other fingers, I'm going to squeeze all of the air out of this 260. So now I've got something that's kind of flat on the side like that. I'm going to make a little loop with the 260 and then tie it around the base of the knot that you just made. So you want to make sure that the 260 is between the balloon itself and the knot that you made, not on top of the knot, because you will run the risk of it slipping off if that's the case. So tied it on. Now I'm just tying it in a simple knot, and that's pretty much it. I've just got something like this, and we're going to use that to actually attach this to our cone once we're finished inflating everything. So I'm going to go ahead and set aside this 36-inch balloon, and we're gonna inflate all of our 5-inch. Now for the ice cream colored 5-inch balloons that you have, it's actually not as important that all of these are the exact same size. So you can just start inflating these. I would suggest making them somewhere between 3.5 and 4 inches. I would suggest making them somewhere between 3.5 and 4 inches, but we're just going to inflate all of these 76 5-inch balloons into duplets. All right, once you have all of your 5-inch balloons inflated, you're just gonna start twisting together your duplets. So again, to show you in slow motion, my 2 duplets here, I'm gonna cross them over into a T or an X, and I'm gonna twist one balloon from one duplet around the balloon from another duplet. That was 1 twist, and now 2 twists. And that's how you put together a duplet. Once you're done putting all of your 5-inch balloons into these quads, we're gonna connect all of them. You should have 19 total quads. Make sure that you double check and count those and that you have 19. Okay, so what we're gonna do to put these all together, we're basically just making one big long 5-inch balloon garland. So the way I'm gonna do that, and the way that I find is the easiest and the most effective, is to do that putting them together using the neck tying method. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a stretchy neck, whatever neck you can find, the stretchiest neck in the middle of one of your quads, and then stretchiest neck in the other quad. And I'm gonna see if I can show you this up close. I'm just going to tie those necks together so it looks like this on the inside. And now these are attached. So now I'm getting another stretchy neck from the middle of this top one. I'm gonna find a stretchy neck in another one, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm stacking it on top and tying those 2 necks together. And now I'm making sure that all of my balloons are in a straight line, and I'm just gonna continue doing that with all 19 of my quads. Okay, so once you've put all of these together, you should have something that looks like this. So we're gonna put this to the side, and we're gonna do the last 2 steps here, which are attaching our ice cream scoop and then attaching the little collar around it. Okay, so I'm gonna try to bring you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing, but I've got my 36-inch balloon next, and we're gonna be attaching this to the top here. Now I have my 260s right here, so I am going to be using this 260 to basically wrap around some of the existing balloons in our cone so that this stays nice and centered in the middle. So to do that, I'm just going to take hold of one side of the 260, and all I'm gonna do is just start wrapping it around. Actually, you know what I think I'm gonna do? We're not quite ready to tuck these in yet, because otherwise I'm not going to have the ability to twist this 260 around any of our 11-inch balloons. So I'm gonna untuck these for right now. That way I can actually twist these around just these 11-inch balloons. We don't really want to twist them around 260s because we run the risk of having them pop, and we just don't want that to happen. So once again, going to take hold of one of the sides of the 260 that's around my 36-inch balloon, and I am simply going to start wrapping it around some of the existing balloons that we have in here. You want to make it pretty tight as possible, and you might have to get, you know, a little creative with twisting this around some of your balloons. But once you've got it in here and you feel like it's pretty secure, you're going to take the other side of that 260 and do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the cone. Don't worry about balloons moving around right now. You'll be able to put those back in their place when you're all finished. But now you should have something like that. And now I'm ready to go back in and tuck these back down into my cone. I'm gonna pull that up. And now you've got something like this. So the very last thing we're gonna do is add in the collar, and then you'll be all finished. Okay, so I've got my collar down here. The easiest way that I have figured out to do this with just one set of hands, one person, is to start at the bottom of your cone, and you're just going to take the end around, grab one end, and I'm gonna grab a neck already that's in the middle of this last piece over here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this end. I've got the necks here in my hand, and now it's easier for me to kind of shimmy this all the way up. Now that you've got this up here, again, you're just kind of tying it at the base of where your ice cream scoop and your ice cream cone meet. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing that we did when we were putting this collar together. I'm gonna take a stretchy neck from the middle of this end and a stretchy neck from the middle of this end and just tie them together in a knot. Make sure it's pretty tight. You want this to be nice and snug around the base of your 36-inch balloon. And from here, you can kind of zhuzh it up. If anything looks like it's a little crooked or out of place, you can fix it. But that's it. And now you have this super, super cute ice cream cone, and it was honestly pretty easy. And there you have it. You've got your super cute balloon ice cream cones. You can add on some sprinkles onto these using 260s or using vinyl with your Cricut machine. I find that to be really cute. Or you can just leave them plain like this, and I think they're adorable. If you like this tutorial, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see all of my new content coming out. And if you enjoy tutorials like this, but you want something that's a little bit more in-depth and more elaborative so that you can start creating really beautiful, large-scale professional balloon designs, please check out Balloon University. I will leave the link for that in the description box below. In Balloon University, I have over 35 tutorials. We add new tutorials every single month, and those tutorials go a lot more in depth on things like columns, but also mostly organic balloon design so that you can start creating a business for yourself and make even more profit. It's a really, really great place to be. We've got about 700 to 800 students in Balloon University, and I would love to have you there. So like I said, I will put that link in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.